Hello everyone, it's me Tabo and welcome to another episode of Coding for Superheroes. In today's episode, we're going to learn how to create a basic particle emitter. So the features of the particle emitter will be changing textures. We'll be able to change the color of our particle. We'll also add a lerping factor so we can lerp from one color to another. We'll change the opacity. We'll be able to change the rotation or the speed of the rotation. We'll also be able to add randomness to the scale. And last but not least, we'll also add randomness to our rotation. So this is what we're going to be creating today. Before I proceed, if you are new to the channel, then be sure to subscribe, hit that like button and hit the notification bell so that you don't miss out on upcoming tutorials. So without further ado, let's just jump right in. Okay, as usual, I've got a boilerplate, we've got a scene. Got a camera, we've got a renderer. We've set the color of our background to black. It helps with creating a more luminescent effect because the particles glow, so they glow better in a darker environment. We've got a camera. I've set the Z position of our camera to 5 and our camera look at is in the negative Z direction of our camera. I've got our orbit control and we've got our render function over here. So we'll first start with creating a texture. Okay, so I've created a variable and I'm loading an image from my directory here in the resources images directory, and the name of the image is testparticle6.png. So I'll be using a PNG image for our particles, and then I will change the color space to 3.sRGB color space. Alright, so next up we're going to create a custom particle. Okay, this will be an extension of the sprite class. So in here we're going to give it these arguments. So we want to be able to change the texture, color, the lerp color, alpha test, opacity, rotation, random. Well, I want to add some randomness to the scale, so we'll be using random scale and random rotation. We'll create a material, and in this material we'll assign some of the values to our material. I'll create a variable called scale, then I'll create a variable called rotation, and this will be equal to the argument my rotation. I'll create a variable called rand rotation, and this will be equal to random rotation, which is our argument over here. Then I will create an if statement checking if random scale is undefined. If this is true, then I will set scale to a default value of 1. Else, I will create a variable called rand scale, and this rand scale will be assigned the result of math.random times random scale. And then after that, we will check with this condition to check if rand scale is bigger than 1, then we will keep the value of rand scale. If not, then we will set it to a default of 1. Next, we create another if statement, and then we check if random rotation is not equal to undefined. If this is true, then rand rotation will be equal to the result of math.random times random rotation. And then we will check again in this condition if rand rotation is bigger than 0, then we will keep the value of rand rotation, otherwise we will set it to a default value of 0.1. Alright, so the rest we then call the super for material, since this is an extension of this class over here. So we'll be using this material, and after that we will set the position to positive x. This will be influencing the direction or the flow of our particles. Then we create a time factor called this.start time, and it will be equal to the elapsed time. We create this.current time, then we create another this.scale, and then we set it to the value of scale. This is the one that we derived from either one of these. We create a property called this.rand rotation, and this will be equal to rand rotation. We create another property called this my rotation, and this will be equal to rotation. And then we create a property called lerp to color, and this will be equal to lerp to color. Then after that, I will set the material blending to 3.additive blending. Okay, and then next we have a method called update. Okay, so inside this method, this is where we will be updating our particle. So inside here, we will multiply the position using multiply scalar by 0.005, and then we will update the matrix. Once again, update matrix world. Okay, I will remove this because that is not really necessary. And then over here, I will check if this dot my rotation is not equal to undefined, then we can continue to animate the rotation rotation by this.myRotation. Here we check if this.randRotation is not undefined, and if it is not, then we will use it to then add some random rotation to our materials rotation. Then after that, we will lerp our materials color using color.lerp, and we will use this.lerp. This is the value that we're going to be lerping to, and so we will be using this value over here. This will be the speed at which our color will interpolate. Alright, then next we'll be creating our particle emitter. Okay, in this constructor, we'll be receiving the values that we will be assigning to our particle over here. So these arguments right here are the same as these over here. Alright, so inside then we'll be creating an array called this.particles, and then we will create a group from new3.group. Then we create a variable called this.timer, and we'll give it a value of 0. We create a variable called this.color. So these will be derived from these arguments right here. So this.lerp color, this.texture, this.alpha test, this.opacity, this.myRotation, this.random scale, this.random rotation. So after that, we will add the group to our scene. Next, I will create a method called emit particle, and this is where we will be emitting our particle. So I will create a variable called delta, which will get the delta time from our clock. Next, we'll create a variable called this.timer, and this will be incremented by the value of delta. And then inside, we'll create a particle. This particle will be instantiated inside of emit particle, and we will be assigning it the relevant values over here. And then we will be setting our particle's current time to clock.getElapsedTime, and then afterwards we will add our particle to the particle emitters group. And then after that, we will push our particle inside the particles array. All right, I will just remove this right here. All right, after that, then we will create our update particles method. So inside here, we will create a for each, and then we will be iterating through our particles array. And then this is what we're going to do for each particle. We're gonna give each particle's current time. We're gonna make it equal to clock.getElapsedTime. And then in here, we're gonna check if the particle's current time minus the particle start time is bigger than 8, then we are going to remove that particle from the group. So this is the lifespan of our particle. Then once we're done doing that, then we will update our particle. So we will call particle.update inside the update particles emitter. Create an object called particle params, and inside here, this is where we'll be holding the values for instantiating our particle. So all the material values will be in here, and some of the values that we're going to need to animate our particle will be all in here. So underneath our object, we're going to create our particle emitter, and as I said, we will be assigning it the values from our particle params object. So this is what we're going to be using. And then after that, I will set the particle emitter's group position, the X position, to -8. So I just want it to be on the far left position of our screen. So inside of our render function, we'll be calling particle.emit particle, and then after that we're going to call particle.update particle. So after all of that, we're going to go into our terminal, and I'm going to run my server over here. So let's have a look at our particle emitter. All right, there we go. So here's our particle emitter over here. So this is the behavior. So I'm just gonna change a few things just so that you can have a clear idea of what each property is actually doing to the particle. So in here, I'm gonna set these to undefined. So this is what our particle behaves like without the rotation, without the random scaling, and without the random rotation. So next, I'm gonna create some random rotation. So I'm going to give it a value of 2.5. So this is what the particle looks like. Next, I'm going to add some rotation. So this is what our particle looks like with rotation. I'm going to turn off the rotation. So I'll make it undefined again, and then what I'm going to do is then add some random rotation. I'll make it 0.03. So this is what it looks like with the random rotation. And it's all up to you. You can bump it up to a really high number, but the higher you go, the more crazy it looks. So this looks beautiful. So this is using a special texture. So I will show you now what the texture looks like. I played around with different types of textures just to see the kind of effects that I could get. Ultimately, you can do anything that you want. It's all up to your imagination. So just to give you an idea, I will try one more texture just to show you the different effects that you can get. Ultimately, you can also just use like a simple circle, you know, that is like the most basic particle that you can get. So the texture that I'm using currently looks like this. So this is what's creating this effect that you're seeing right now. Here's another particle design that we can play around with, and this is another one. So I'm going to use this one over here. It's called test particle light. As you can see, this has a very different effect to the one that we had the last time. You also have to play around with the settings. This one is very bright, so I might have to reduce the opacity. So that's what it looks like. You can add some rotation to it to see what that looks like. So this is what the effect looks like with just rotation on it, but no randomness to the rotation. And this is what it looks like with no rotation at all, no random rotation, just only random scaling. So as you can see, you are free to play around with ideas, but yeah, this is what I wanted to show. Okay, one last thing is the lerping of the color. Let me also show you that. You can change the color if you want to. So here's what it looks like with a different color. So I'm starting with a red color and then lerping to blue. So as you can see, this changes the whole mood. Can go from yellow to blue. So anyway, it's up to you what you want to do, but yeah, this was the basic idea. So I hope that you have learned something. If you've gotten to this part of the tutorial, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you can be notified about upcoming tutorials. So with all that said, I just want to say love and peace. I'm out.